Hey guys, what is up? It is I, James Penrose, here for video number 59 on my channel, and this video is going to be another Simpsons episode review for you guys watching. This one's going to be coming from season 5 this time. Again, quite old episodes I'm going to, but these old ones are the best in my opinion. And this episode is entitled Cape Feare. Now, this one involves Sideshow Bob, one of my favourite characters. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about, like I normally do with these episode reviews, I'm going to talk about the plot and the storyline first. Then at the end, I'm going to give my overall thoughts on it, and there's no negatives on this episode whatsoever, and it's all pitch perfect. So let's go with the storyline right now. Storyline. Basically, what happens? It starts out Simpsons. They get the mail one day. The mail comes in one day, and Bart gets an anonymous message in red blood-like letters saying, and I quote, "I am going to kill you." And these messages, anonymous messages, keep going on and on and on and on, to the point where Bart's shitting himself. Who on earth is doing this? And then the next day, all these mind games are coming through. I mean, we see Marge teasing Bart. Marge is like, "Bart, I'm going to get you some ice cream at the store." And yeah, that was a troll. Then he goes outside and he sees Ned Flanders with some rakes, and he's like, "Say your prayers, Simpson. Because the schools can't force you like you should." And then he goes to school after that, and then the Crabapple says to him, "You're going to be my murder victim, Bart." And our school production plays starting Martin Prince, and so on and so on. These are just the mind games that are going on and on from there. And then Bart's like, "No, you're out there somewhere, but where? Where?" And then we finally know who it is when we see this guy writing red blood letters out of his blood again. He says, "See you soon, Bart," written on paper. And who is it? None other than yours truly, Sideshow Bob. Well, not yours truly, but yeah, Sideshow Bob is the one that's been behind all these messages and mind games. And then after all that, he gets released from prison after he makes his statements to basically prove that, you know what, if I'm going to be released from prison, if I'm going to be set free, I'm not going to pose any threat whatsoever to Bart. I mean, that's what they were questioning him about. I mean, the lawyer said to him, "What about that tattoo on your chest? Doesn't it say 'Die, Bart, die'?" And Sideshow Bob says, No, that's German for D bar, a D." And then he's granted the release from prison, and immediately right there, that's when he starts plotting his revenge. But the Simpsons family and Bart, they still don't know this. They still don't know it's Sideshow Bob whatsoever. I mean, Lisa had an idea, but the Simpsons family go to the cinema one day, and they're watching a movie, and they happen to stumble across a really, really rude individual who's smoking right in front of them, who can't quite see the movie or what's going on. And Homer's like, he's saying to him, "Look, if you don't mind, we're trying to watch the movie." And then Homer sees something funny in the movie. He laughs his ass off. He slaps this guy in the back of the head. He turns around, looks at Homer, and he's like, "Oh, really? No, that's too much." And it's Sideshow Bob of all people. And the kids are like, "Ah, Sideshow Bob!" And it clicks into Bart's head that he's the one that wrote those letters. And Marge is like, "You awful man, stay away from my son." And Sideshow Bob says, "Oh, I'll stay away from your son, all right. Stay away forever." And then he leaves, and then he comes back, and he says, "Wait, I got a good one now. Marge, stay away from my son again." And she's like, "No!" And he just walks off from there. I thought it was a bit awkward, but that was funny as hell how we put that. So what thing is about this episode, what I really liked about this is how they built this entire episode up towards the end to the point where they made us think that, you know what, Bart could actually be killed. And I mean, we know at the end it was predictable kind of what happened, but how they built it up, it was almost like we didn't really know what was going to happen, which is the main thing I liked about it. So after this, the Simpsons, their hands are tied basically in this situation. They don't really know what's going. Well, they know what's going on, but they don't know exactly what's really going to happen. Are they going to wind up dead or not? So then afterwards, Sideshow Bob drives around Evergreen Terrace with in an ice cream truck or some sort, and he shouts out, "The following residents of Evergreen Terrace will not be killed: Ned Flanders, Maud Flanders, Homer Simpson, Marge Simpson, Lisa Simpson, that little baby Simpson." That is all. And he doesn't mention Bart's name whatsoever, and that's obviously right there that he's coming this close to perfecting his plan of killing Bart. And that's when the Simpson family realise, okay, enough is enough. We need to keep Bart safe. We need to get out of here, Springfield. So they decide to move to Terror Lake, into a houseboat, which I didn't know they were going to go to a houseboat for. I was kind of surprised. But they now changed their last names to Thompsons. Then Homer Simpson was now called Homer Thompson at Terror Lake. Homer didn't really get the message at first, but he did eventually. I mean, it took him a hell of a long time. I mean, he did not get it at first. So what they do is they move into this houseboat, and they think they've got away from Sideshow Bob. They think that they're all safe and everything. Oh, no, they're not. Because Bart walks down the street one day, and who does he stumble across? None other than Sideshow Bob. And Bart's like, well, what the hell do you want? And Bob's like, oh, surely there's no harm in just lying on the road, and so on and so on. But yeah, he was lying on the road in the wrong time, my friend. Why? Because he happened to stumble across a parade of people who were stepping on him and just like crushing his head, and even elephants came and was crushing on his head. It was hilarious. There was like several of them. Honestly, that was hilarious. And for me, the funniest bit of this episode was, out of all of this, the most hilarious bit of this episode was where Sideshow Bob got out of the car as he's about to go into the houseboat for the first time, as in his first attempt. He stumbles across a pile of rakes, and he just keeps hitting himself in the head with a bunch of rakes, and that would go on for like a good, I'm going to say a good 30 seconds or a minute at least. Honestly, that was hilarious. There was like 20 of them surrounded by him. How could he not notice that? Honestly, that was so weird. Stupid on his part. But then before we get to the ending bit, we see Sideshow Bob doing his list and so on, writing his plan out to kill Bart, saying that, I'm gonna disembowel him and so on. And then it gets to the ending where Homer Simpson, before Sideshow Bob comes in, Homer Simpson storms into Bart's room twice in the middle of the night. The first time, Homer storms in and he's like, Bart, you want some brownies before you go to bed? And Bart shat himself, and Bart's like, you know what, Dad, I'm kind of itchy right now, and I would appreciate if you didn't come in here screaming and with that butcher knife and stuff. And Homer's like, oh crap, the Sideshow Bob thing. Oh, I'm sorry, Bart. Good night. Shuts the door, and then all of a sudden, boy, you wanna see my new chainsaw? Hug it fast! And he did the same thing again, but with a chainsaw on his head, on his hand. And Bart shot himself even worse that time. And Homer's like, oh, sorry. What am I thinking? Shuts the door, and Bart then goes to sleep, and that's when Sideshow Bob comes in. He hits himself face first into another rake. I mean, we haven't seen the last of those, have we? He throws that into the river, and then he cuts the rope, and then the houseboat just starts to move and everything, and then Sideshow Bob goes into Bart's room, and the family can't help Bart because they've been tied up, kidnapped, and Homer was asleep that time, still aware. He was not aware whatsoever. So they both go outside the houseboat. Bart tries to jump out of the houseboat, but they can't because they're full of crocodiles and electric snakes and everything. And then Sideshow Bob goes to Bart, well, Bart, any last requests? And Bart goes, well, there is one, but nah. And Sideshow Bob insists, no, go on, what is it? And Bart's like, well, you have a beautiful voice, so I was wondering if you could sing the entire score of the HMS Pinafore. And he goes on from there, he sings the song and everything, even Bart sings it with him, that was hilarious. And then Bart thinks he's going to use that as a plan to get out of it, but Sideshow Bob then realises it's now time, the final curtain. He grabs the sword, thinks that Bart's going to go dead and everything, and all of a sudden the houseboat crashes, it just completely falls apart. Sideshow Bob drops his weapon, and who's there on the other side but the police? He says, you're under arrest, Sideshow Bob, and then it basically ends from there. Basically, Sideshow Bob's arrested, and it ends happily ever after right there. There's no negatives about this episode whatsoever. It was all equally balanced, and it was great build-up and storytelling in this episode. I mean, we've seen so many Sideshow Bob episodes where he's tried to kill Bart, and it's not just Bart he's tried to kill. I mean, look at his past history of Sideshow Bob. He framed Krusty in Season 1. Go to Season 3, he tried to kill Aunt Selma. Go to this episode here, he tries to kill Bart. Then we go to the next season, Season 6, where he rigged that election to become mayor of Springfield. Then we go to Season 7, tries to kill Krusty. Then Season 8, in Season 8 he wasn't portrayed as a bad guy as so much. He was more portrayed as turning into a sort of good guy and saying to Bart, you know what, let's let bygones be bygones for one time so we can just get out of this alive. Because Sideshow Bob's brother was in this episode, which I thought was brilliant. Sideshow Cecil, who also tried to kill Bart, and it was a disaster. I don't think he was in Season 9. And in Season 12, he came in and tried to have Bart kill Krusty, and again, it was just a complete fail, and so on and so on. But he's repeatedly tried to kill all these people, and pretty much has failed every single attempt. But that's kind of why we love Sideshow Bob, right? He comes and fails, and so on and so on. So overall, this episode is, again, another perfect 10 out of 10 for me. And like I always say in these episode reviews, if you don't have these seasons, whether they're new or old or whatever, make sure you get them. I mean, you're missing out if you don't have them, in my opinion. So make sure you get them. I mean, they're fantastic episodes. The creative team does a fantastic job with these episodes and making them what they are. I mean, they've been going for like 25 seasons or whatever. And just before I'll end this video off, I want to let you guys know, you know that video I made back in October debating on which character is going to be killed off for the 25th season of The Simpsons at towards the end of the 25th season? Well, you can scrap that idea now because it's not the 25th season it's gonna happen anymore. They're now moving it to the 26th season. I didn't know this. I mean, that's been made official for quite a while now, but I didn't really know until recently. So I just thought I'd make that out in the open. But really, who is going to get killed off still? I don't know. I predicted Krusty the Clown in that video alone. I said Mr. Burns could be a possibility. Yeah, comment down below and tell me who do you think is going to be killed off, and also what you think about this episode that I've just reviewed for you guys. What you like about it. I'm sure there's nothing you dislike about it. But if somehow you do dislike something, then comment down below, tell me what it is. I mean, I won't bash that idea. So that is pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this episode review. Like, comment and subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to Alex Wilkinson, Connor Kenway, two good friends of mine who make good videos. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Peace out, my brothers.